What direction will the New York Rangers go with finding their next head coach? Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watt2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So, it was this past Saturday afternoon. I'm hanging out in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of Knicks fans, hanging out on a rooftop in the Georgetown section. And we're watching the Knicks versus Heat Game 3 disaster, as it turned out to be, where the Knicks got absolutely bullied around. It was a horrible game to watch. But in the midst of that game, my phone starts buzzing a little bit. I take a look, and I see Gerard Gallant has been let go as head coach of the New York Rangers. They said a mutual parting of ways. It's never a mutual parting of ways. Let's be honest on how that works. But Gallant is out after 2 seasons after compiling a 99, 46, and 19 regular season record over 2 years. He has a .662 point percentage. That is the highest percentage of any head coach in the history of the New York Rangers who coached at least 100 games. Gallant was absolutely a successful regular season head coach. You know, he was known for not being the best in terms of X's and O's and giving a lot of in-game speeches, things like that. You know, sort of just letting the players do their thing. And that's what it really turned out to be. The Rangers were not able to adjust in either of the playoff series where they got ousted. They couldn't do it against Tampa Bay. They couldn't do it against New Jersey. And for a team that should be ready to win a Stanley Cup, it's just not working. It is absolutely not working, and the players apparently made it known during their exit interviews that they didn't feel that the connection between the players and the head coach were working out. And when you have so many young players and you have a core in place that is under contract for years and years, you can't get rid of a couple of players in this spot, especially when some of them have no movement clauses. So in this case, it was Gallant that had to go. I understand it. It makes sense. But I do give him credit for being a very good regular season head coach, because he undeniably was. Now, Chris Drury, the Rangers general manager, said they're looking for the right fit. They're not limiting themselves to any specific style or coach or any level of experience. Well, if that's the case, to me, there's really 3 different ways you could go with head coach. You can either hire a previous NHL head coach who has a lot of experience and has a proven track record, kind of like what Gallant was when the Rangers hired him. You could go for a top assistant coach, an up-and-coming assistant. You could do that. Or you could promote from within. So today, I'm going to break down one candidate that I would go for in each one of those 3 categories. So as far as a NHL coach who has a proven track record, who has some experience, there's a couple of things that I'm going to say about this. I've heard some rumors about Mike Babcock. He has a little bit too much baggage, and he's been out of the league for 5 or 6 years. Joe Quenneville will not be an option. He is not going to be pursued, even though if it was just as a head coach, I would be all over Q in a minute. As good as he was in Chicago, I would have loved to have seen him with the Rangers, but external circumstances are not going to allow that to ever happen, understandably, I guess. I don't think Daryl Sutter, I don't know. I think Daryl Sutter has worn out his welcome too quickly after winning those 2 Stanley Cups in Los Angeles. I don't see it working out with Sutter. Bruce Boudreau, he's getting close to, I believe, 70 years old. I think he's better off in the booth. He's more of a personality at this point. The one I would go after is Peter Laviolette. Most recently fired by the Washington Capitals. Laviolette won the 2006 Stanley Cup in Carolina, made the Stanley Cup Finals 2 other times. He's 58 years old. He is 8th all-time in the NHL in wins, with 752 career wins. He was a head coach for 19 years. You don't have the baggage like you would have with Quenneville or with Babcock. And here's the thing. He likes to play a fast pace on offense. He likes to play relentless. And with a team that has a lot of speed on it and a lot of offensive talent, this could work out well. Now, 2 things with that. He hasn't reached the second round of the playoffs in 5 years, and he does have a bit of a no-nonsense approach. Sounds a little bit like Gallant, a little bit. And I hate to say he would be a clone, because that's really not fair. But if he were to come in, would it basically be Gerard Gallant Part 2? It is something to keep in mind, but of the retread coaches that are available, to me, Laviolette makes the most sense. So then you go to your second category, and then you go outside the organization and you look for a top assistant. Somebody who is rising through the ranks of the NHL, but hasn't really had much of an opportunity to be a head coach for the long term. And to me, there's one option that I'm looking at, and only one, and it's andrewbrunette, the assistant coach currently of my favorite team, the New Jersey Devils. You know, he is 49 years old, probably regarded as one of the 2 or 3 hottest assistant coaches out there in terms of his marketability. He led the Florida Panthers last year to the President's Trophy, which is pretty amazing to think about. After that season, the Panthers did not opt to hire andrewbrunette as their head coach. They went with Paul Maurice. Panthers, of course, made the playoffs, and hey, they're doing pretty dang well right now. Ousting Boston, they're up 3-0 on Toronto. You know, it's hard to say that it was a bad hire, although they did barely get into the playoffs. They are getting hot right now for sure. But after that, Brunette decided to join Lindy Ruff as an assistant coach in New Jersey. And after this run, I would be very surprised if Brunette is back as an assistant coach in New Jersey come this October. So you don't have a whole lot of experience, but he is known for being a very, very good communicator, and that does go a long way, especially with today's players. One knock on him you could assess is on February 1st, he did have a DUI. Might need to take that into account. But as an assistant coach who could become a head coach and is now looking for a chance to prove himself, why not take one from New Jersey? Why not do that? Sounds good to me. And then finally, number 3, you could promote from within. And this name is gaining more and more steam as well, just like Brunette says. And it's Chris Knoblauch, the head coach of the Rangers minor league affiliate in the American Hockey League, the Hartford Wolfpack. So it's important to note that Chris Drury hired Chris Knoblauch to coach Hartford. Knoblauch is 44 years old. He was an assistant coach with the Flyers in 17 and 18, has never been a permanent head coach in the NHL, but he did head coach the Rangers on an interim level when both Quinn and later Gallant were dealing with COVID. Okay, so the amazing thing right now is that Knobloch just continues to drive the Wolfpack forward. They have advanced past 2 rounds of the playoffs after barely qualifying. They had to go on a very hot streak late in the season to make the Calder Cup playoffs. Well, they've now ousted 2 teams, and now they're getting ready to face the Hershey Bears in the Atlantic Division Finals. So that's like the quarterfinals of the Calder Cup playoffs. And this is with a roster whose best player is Tim Gettinger. You know, if you're not a huge Rangers fan, it's you may not be overly familiar with the name. But Knobloch's done a heck of a job with this team, and you could... The question is he ready for this team? You know, it would make a lot of sense if it was maybe a young up-and-coming team with a lot of kids and a lot of prospects. You know, you do have the kid line, but again, when you have a hockey team that has Adam Fox, Jacob Trouba, Ryan Lindgren, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin, Vladimir Tarasenko, maybe, Vinny Trocheck, maybe Patrick Kane comes back. You know what you're dealing with, and you're dealing with players who not only want to win, they need to win now. They have to win right now. This is their window. So with the Rangers, trust turning the reins over to a coach who has 8 games, I believe, or 6 games of NHL head coaching experience. It's a great question. It'll be fascinating to see which way the Rangers go, but I would be on board with any one of these 3 candidates. Well, those are my thoughts. I want to see yours. Who do you want to see the New York Rangers hire as their next head coach, and why? Put it down there in the comments. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate your support. I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.